Just one wrong button press and the entire sea can erupt into a living hell. That warning is often repeated in naval circles, but it has never felt so terrifyingly real until today. On a sun-drenched afternoon in disputed waters, the surface was calm, the wind salty, and the blue sky deceptively peaceful. 3 fleets, China, Cambodia, and Thailand, were engaged in the region's largest live-fire exercise in years. Warships paraded on the waves, radars swept continuously, and naval guns roared to demonstrate brute power. Inside the command center of a Chinese Type 052D destroyer, the commanding officer barked the order to test-fire a YJ-83 anti-ship missile. Target, a derelict hull drifting miles away. Warning sirens screamed, followed by the deafening roar of the missile tearing through the air, trailing a long white smoke plume. The entire deck shuddered from the jet engine's thrust, but seconds later, horror struck. The guidance system jammed, the seeker went rogue. The missile abandoned its target, curving its deadly trajectory toward a Royal Thai Navy patrol boat monitoring the perimeter. On the Thai bridge, before they could react, radar screens flashed crimson. Incoming, vampire! The scream echoed, but it was too late. Boom! A horrific explosion rocked the ocean. A fireball erupted from the ship's side, sending black smoke billowing hundreds of meters high. Metal shrapnel rained down like hail. The hull shook violently, throwing Thai sailors into the churning water. Screams and alarms merged into a chaotic symphony of death. The patrol boat listed like a wounded whale, bleeding burning oil into the sea, creating a long glowing scar. No one believed this was an accident anymore. On the remaining Thai frigate, the crew stood frozen for a heartbeat before exploding into rage. Open fire. The order was instant. The 127mm main gun roared, tearing up the water with massive pillars of white spray. Boom! A nearby Cambodian corvette took the full impact. The hull groaned, gray smoke spewed out, and panic seized the Cambodian crew. The Cambodians were blindsided. They hadn't seen the Chinese missile malfunction. They only saw their ally hit. Immediately, anti-aircraft guns on the Cambodian ship lit up the sky with tracers. In minutes, a training ground morphed into a slaughterhouse. On the Chinese destroyer, the commander screamed, "Cease fire, stop shooting." But it was too late. Thailand had engaged. Cambodia had retaliated. Now China was forced to intervene to shield its ally. Thunderous explosions erupted as heavy-caliber rounds slammed into steel. Ships listed, metal shredded, and the sea boiled. Sailors returned fire while dragging bleeding comrades from burning compartments. In under 5 minutes, a technical glitch spiraled into an international disaster. At the Thai Naval Command in Sattahip, emergency signals flooded in. 1 patrol boat sunk, 1 frigate under heavy attack. We are taking massive fire from China and Cambodia. The Thai admiral clenched his fist, his voice dripping with venom. Scramble the quick reaction force, now! F-16 Fighting Falcons roared off the runway at Utapao, glinting lethal silver in the sun. Below, stealth frigates of the Bhumibol Adulyadej Death class pushed engines to the red line, charging toward the kill zone. Thailand viewed this as a direct act of war and refused to back down. Back in the kill zone, the burning Thai patrol boat refused to die. Its machine guns chewed up the water, hammering the Cambodian vessel. But the Chinese response was brutal. Columns of water erupted around the Thai ship as shells rained down. The air grew thick with the choking stench of cordite and burning oil. Sailors fought fires and manned guns with bloodshot eyes amidst the stinging smoke. Above, the Thai F-16s arrived. Chinese radar immediately locked on. The HQ-9 air defense system flashed red warnings, sirens wailing inside the ship. Chinese soldiers hovered over the launch buttons. From one rogue missile, a chain reaction of destruction had been activated. Thailand went all in. China and Cambodia were locked in a defensive frenzy. Flames rose high, the sea roared, and the sky was slashed by missile trails. None of the sailors fighting in that hellscape knew this was just the prologue. Once blood spills, the word accident disappears. High above, the Thai F-16s dove toward the fray like steel predators. Silver jets cut through the midday sun, trailing white contrails. Inside the cockpits, pilots grit their teeth, eyes burning with fury. They received orders for total retaliation. Any target firing on Thai ships is an enemy. Below, the stealth frigate Boomable and two Krabi-class ships tore through the waves, engines screaming, charging straight into the heart of the inferno. The crippled Thai patrol boat kept firing until the end. Heavy rounds slammed into the Cambodian ship, shaking its hull and blowing smoke from the engine room. Cambodian sailors screamed, fighting fires while trying to counterattack. The Chinese Type 052D swung its massive main gun, the 130mm cannon firing relentlessly. Explosions rocked the sea, sending walls of water crashing over Thai decks. Sailors stumbled, slipping on blood and oil, but they gripped their triggers, firing back with pure hatred amidst the deafening alarms. Overhead, the F-16s approached. Chinese radar locked on and the HQ-9 fired. Two surface-to-air missiles screamed upward, leaving white scars in the sky. One exploded right in front of an F-16. A blinding fireball forced the pilot into a violent break, barely escaping death. But a second F-16 dove low, unleashing two AGM-65 Mavericks. The missiles shrieked in, slamming into the Cambodian corvette. One exploded amidships, spewing black smoke. The other shattered the gun turret. Shrapnel flew, sending the crew scrambling in terror. The Thai admiral ground his teeth, crushed them right there. Make sure no one calls this an incident. The HTMS Boomable closed in. Its 76mm Oto Malara gun unleashed a hellstorm on the Chinese destroyer. A shell detonated against the hull, listing the Chinese giant. The Chinese Type 730 CIWS spun up, spitting a curtain of white-hot tungsten to intercept the barrage. But smoke, noise, and chaos had turned the drill into a naval execution. Cambodian fast attack crafts rushed in, firing C-802 missiles. One warhead detonated under the bow of a Thai frigate, throwing water high and smoking the engine room. Thai sailors frantically fought the blaze while their guns never stopped singing. Explosions, screeching metal, and screams merged into the sound of hell. In less than an hour, both sides were mauling each other. One Thai boat sunk, one frigate critically damaged. Cambodia lost at least two ships, one paralyzed in the water. The Chinese Type 052D was riddled with shrapnel, forced to rotate its guns defensively. Above, Thai F-16s dogfought, but the HQ-9 fire was too dense. China scrambled J-10 fighters into the mix, creating a tense aerial chase, contrails tangling in the sky. Neither side could claim absolute dominance. The sea raged violently, waves churning violently. The sky was blinded by artillery flashes and missiles. Thick black smoke choked the horizon, debris drifted, and blood mixed with oil on the water's surface. Inside the Chinese CIC, officers screamed over radios, "Hold formation, do not scatter, reinforcements are inbound." On the mainland, war machines were mobilizing. Thailand refused to yield. They demanded more F-16 sorties and frigate support. The Thai admiral swore vengeance, blood for blood, no retreat. The firefight dragged on, a bloody stalemate where neither side would let go of the other's throat. But as smoke blanketed the water, radars on all three sides screamed a new warning. A massive fleet was approaching at flank speed. From the distance, electronic warfare suites picked up a terrifying signature. FA-18 Super Hornets, launched from the USS Ronald Reagan. The Americans had arrived. The battlefield froze for a heartbeat. The ocean seemed to hold its breath. But then, the explosions resumed. Everyone knew this was just the beginning. The nightmare had truly arrived. The sea churned with black smoke and the thick smell of death. Crippled ships drifted. Sailors cried out in the waves. Thai F-16s, reckless with rage, strafed the enemy formation with rockets. Chinese radar flashed red constantly. The HQ-9 system fired, sending white streaks tearing through the sky, forcing Thai pilots into desperate evasive maneuvers. Cambodia, broken but stubborn, kept firing like suicide squads, holding their ground. Suddenly, a deep, thrumming roar drowned out the battle. It sounded like a waking beast. Radar screens flooded with new contacts.
Fast movers inbound from the east. Intelligence confirmed. The U.S. Navy. High above, Super Hornets from the Reagan gleamed in the harsh light, their engines tearing the sky apart. Below, the steel giants emerged from the haze. The USS Ronald Reagan led the charge, flanked by Ticonderoga-class cruisers and Arleigh Burke-class destroyers. They cut through the waves like leviathans, signaling a new, overpowering player in the game. On the Chinese destroyer, The commander's face went pale. He screamed orders to move Cambodian ships to the rear, shielding them with his own vessel against the American front. But every Chinese sailor's eyes were fixed east, watching the American steel wall approach. Sirens wailed on the Type 052D. Emergency signals beamed to Hainan. They knew this wasn't Thailand. This was the most powerful navy on Earth. On the U.S. carrier, pilots sat stone-faced behind their visors. Their orders were simple and lethal. Establish a no-fire zone. Neutralize any threat. Engines roared and the Hornets dove straight into the heart of the chaos. Thai ships paused for seconds. Cambodian troops stared up in horror. Chinese sailors gripped their weapons. The silence broke instantly. As U.S. jets dropped altitude, Chinese radar locked on. The HQ-9 prepared to fire. The sky lit up with red warnings. The war just opened a new gate to hell. Hornets dove, releasing AGM-184 harpoons. The missiles skimmed the waves, slamming into the Chinese formation. Water geysered, fire erupted. A harpoon grazed the Chinese Type 052D, detonating near the bow, tossing crew members like ragdolls amidst the roar of engines. China hit back immediately. The HQ-9 launched 2 missiles, white trails slashing the sky. One exploded near a Hornet, blinding the air. The U.S. pilot yanked the stick, barely surviving the shock wave. The Chinese Type 730 CIWS buzzed like angry wasps, throwing up a wall of tracers to stop the incoming harpoons. Thailand seized the moment. The HTMS Boomabal unleashed a fresh salvo of anti-ship missiles into the Cambodian line. A small corvette took a direct hit, vaporizing in a fireball before slipping beneath the waves. Cambodia was panicking, but fought on with suicidal defiance. C-802 missiles struck the Thai ship HTMS Krabi. The hull shuddered. Sailors slipped in blood, but the 76mm gun kept hammering away without a second pause. In the U.S. command center, the tactical officer's voice was ice cold. "China is locking us." The commander replied darkly, "If they want to test us, show them real power." Immediately, the USS Ticonderoga opened up. The Aegis system launched a volley of Standard missiles, intercepting Chinese fire in mid-air. Explosions lit up the clouds, white smoke billowed, shrapnel rained down. In minutes, the battlefield transformed. If it was a stalemate before, the U.S. arrival dragged the conflict to a terrifying new level. The sky was thick with ordnance. The sea was red. Smoke obscured the horizon. Every nation tightened its grip on the trigger. No one spoke of accidents anymore. A stray missile had ignited a torch that was now burning all 4 nations. The U.S. arrival didn't snuff the fire, it poured gasoline on it. The ocean became a giant furnace. Amidst the roar of engines and thunder of guns, a cold truth emerged. This was out of control. The South China Sea was a burning graveyard.
Titans from 4 nations clashed. Above, Thai F-16s, American Hornets, and Chinese J-10s danced a deadly ballet, leaving twisted contrails in the sky. The Thai frigate Boomable fired again. 2 harpoons slammed into a Cambodian frigate trying to hold formation. The explosion was deafening. The ship buckled and burned, screams echoing over the water. No one could help them. Sailors jumped into the smoke-filled sea. Cambodia struck back with a suicide run, putting 2 missiles into the Thai ship Krabi. The explosion rocked the vessel, water spraying high. Sailors collapsed, blood staining the deck, but even listing heavily, the ship's gun kept firing like a possessed demon. The Chinese Type 052D focused all its rage on the Americans. Its main gun pounded the Ticonderoga. CIWS tracers drew lines of light, but the U.S. Aegis system was relentless, swatting down Chinese missiles like flies, turning them into fireballs hanging in the sky. U.S. Hornets dove again, harpoons trailing smoke. One gutted a Cambodian ship, turning it into a floating pyre. The hull twisted, burning red before sinking, leaving dozens of sailors thrashing in the waves. But the U.S. wasn't invincible. China swarmed J-10s into the fight, firing PL-12 missiles. A Hornet was locked. Alarm screamed. The pilot pulled hard, but the missile was too fast. Boom! The jet disintegrated. Debris rained down. The radio went silent. On the USS Reagan, the tactical officer ordered a second wave of Hornets with a face of stone.
Engines roared and fresh Hornets launched into the storm of steel. Below, the brawl grew desperate. A Thai harpoon clipped the Chinese Type 052D again, tilting the giant ship. Sailors scrambled over twisted metal. Smoke poured from its guts. The Chinese CIWS still fired, but black smoke signaled the ship was dying. Meanwhile, Cambodia was exhausted. Half its fleet was gone. But instead of retreating, they charged like martyrs. Small boats fired their last missiles, dealing another heavy blow to the Thai fleet. Boom! Explosion! Black smoke curled high. Thai sailors screamed, dragging guns through the fire, eyes bloodshot in the acrid haze. The battlefield was a nightmare. Above, Thai F-16s pummeled Chinese ships with Mavericks. The HQ-9 replied, blasting an F-16 out of the sky. The wreck plunged into the sea, trailing a long black scar. The pilot didn't eject. Reports flooded the Thai Naval Command. Heavy damage, pilot killed, casualties critical. The admiral slammed his fist on the table, ordering, maintain pressure, no retreat, we fight for national honor. On the Chinese side, the commander screamed over the radio to hold formation, but his voice cracked with despair as explosions shook his ship. Radar picked up more incoming harpoons. Sailors frantically deployed decoys, but not all worked. Another explosion rocked the Chinese hull, black smoke billowing from the impact. On the other flank, the U.S. seized the initiative. Super Hornets coordinated with Thai F-16s in a pincer movement, launching missiles from multiple angles. China fought back, but the losses were mounting. Cambodia was effectively erased from the battle map. But the U.S. knew, drag this out, and the risk of escalation becomes uncontrollable. If China unleashed its full South Sea Fleet, the war would spiral. Indeed, radar pinged new contacts from the north. Sirens wailed urgently. No one thought of ceasefires, no one mentioned the accident. This was now a total liquidation where every side paid in blood, steel, and honor. The South China Sea, under the harsh sun, was no longer blue. It was red with blood, black with smoke, and orange with fire. The roar of cannons and missiles sounded like a death knell for everyone left standing. They all knew this was the prelude to a larger storm, a storm no nation could survive. Smoke turned high noon into an artificial night, lit only by the muzzle flashes of naval guns. Ghost ships drifted, burning. Survivors clung to debris, screaming in vain. Waves mixed with oil and blood, creating a dark sludge stretching to the horizon. Amidst the engine roar, U.S. Hornets circled like vultures, pounding the Chinese line.
Below, the Thai frigate Bhumibol Adulyadej fired relentlessly, tearing up the water. China defended desperately with HQ-9s and CIWS, but the damage was catastrophic. Cambodia was gone, save for a few burning boats refusing to sink, the last candles in a hurricane. In Hainan, Chinese alarms screamed without pause. The electronic map glowed red with enemy signatures. The commander slammed the table, voice cold. Mobilize the entire South Sea Fleet. Deploy J-20s and H-6K bombers. Do not let the Americans dominate. Deep inland, engines roared to life. New squadrons and ships surged forward, expanding the battlefield beyond anyone's control. In Washington, the Pentagon was in crisis mode. Satellite feeds showed the sea lit up like a deadly fireworks display. National security advisors argued fiercely. One side demanded withdrawal to avoid escalation. The other insisted, if we blink, China wins strategically. The decision? Hold the line, prepare for the worst. Orders were relayed to the fleet. In Bangkok, the government held an emergency session. The admiral reported bluntly. One patrol boat lost, one frigate critical, high casualties. But reinforcements were ready. The Thai Prime Minister, eyes bloodshot, growled. National honor cannot be trampled. Continue the fight. Mobilize strategic air assets if needed. That sentence severed the last hope for peace. In the ruins of the Cambodian fleet, the situation was hopeless. Yet in the remaining command center, the officer ordered, no running, we are allies. Even with one ship left, we fight. Cambodian sailors wiped blood from their faces and kept shooting, eyes burning with desperate fire. High above, a Chinese J-10 screamed in, locking onto a Thai F-16, PL-12 missile away. The F-16 tried to evade, but the warning tone was relentless. Boom! A bright flash, and the jet spiraled into the sea. The pilot ejected, his white chute drifting down into hell, a fragile drop of peace in an inferno. Immediately, 2 U.S. Hornets swept in, launching sidewinders. The Chinese J-10 disintegrated in a shower of steel rain. On the surface, the Chinese Type 052D took another harpoon. The hull shuddered, smoke pouring from the engine room. Sailors screamed, fighting fires on the red-hot deck. The Chinese officer yelled, "Fight to the end." Reinforcements were coming, but their eyes held despair. The USS Reagan stood like an unmovable fortress. Hornets launched wave after wave, coordinating with Thailand to crush the enemy. The cruiser Ticonderoga fired a tomahawk, obliterating a target near the Chinese line, lighting up the sky. Radar screamed again, a massive formation approaching from the north. Chinese destroyers and submarines. From the south, U.S. reinforcement ships raced in. Both superpowers were now fully committed. The sky shook, the sea boiled. The battle was no longer between Thailand, China, and Cambodia. It had spiraled into a direct U.S.-China war, with the smaller nations crushed in the gears. On the damaged Thai ship Krabi, a sailor stared at the flames, tears mixing with sweat. He whispered into the noise, "Just one stray missile, and the world burns." His words were swallowed by the thunder of cannons, but they echoed a brutal truth. A small accident had become the fuse for a global war. The afternoon sun illuminated thousands of fires. Explosions, screams, and roaring waves merged into an apocalyptic soundtrack. Everyone left alive knew the end was near. The sea was no longer whole. It was a graveyard of smoke, burning hulks, and twisted metal. Missile trails scarred the sky like jagged wounds. The explosions slowed, replaced by a heavy, ominous sound. The groans of dying ships, the hiss of fire on water, and the cries of the wounded. Both Washington and Beijing realized, one more step, and the nukes fly. Washington knew another stray shot meant nuclear war. Beijing admitted that even with reinforcements, the cost was already a historic stain. Thailand was furious, but battered. Cambodia was decimated, its ships drifting like corpses. On the USS Reagan, the tactical officer stared at the red map. He whispered, "We can win this, but the price is the world." The commander spoke, voice heavy. "A victory like this is a defeat. Send the warning." Orders went out. Hornets dropped altitude but held fire. They flew in a menacing formation. A message, "We can destroy you, but we choose to stop." The Chinese fleet commander received the damage report. 3 ships critical, 1 combat ineffective. The casualty list stunned the mainland.
The general in Beijing ordered hoarsely, "Conditional ceasefire. We are not defeated but preserve the force." Chinese ships signaled withdrawal to defensive positions. Above, Thai F-16 circled. Pilots saw the signals. They hesitated. The Thai admiral's voice crackled, exhausted. "Honor is satisfied. Stop, but do not forget." His voice choked with the weight of loss and anger. Smoke settled over a desolate seascape. Bodies drifted. The smell of burning oil was thick. Crippled ships limped back to port, leaving a trail of blood in the ocean. There were no cheers, no victory chants. Everyone knew this wasn't a win, it was a collective tragedy. In Bangkok, ambulance sirens wailed as the wounded arrived. People wept, waving flags at the coffins returning home. In Phnom Penh, mourning was absolute. Families received only ashes and charred relics. In Beijing, the government stopped calling it an accident. They called it a lesson in blood. Generals admitted a single error had triggered a catastrophe. In a dark room, a cold voice noted, "We won battles, but we nearly lost the world." In Washington, the president addressed the nation. He didn't praise the military. He said one sentence that chilled the globe. "A single stray missile pushed humanity to the brink of extinction. This is a warning to us all." The next day, the sea was calm, but black debris floated like nameless tombstones. Journalists called it the battle no one wanted to remember, but no one was allowed to forget. Survivors said they didn't see enemies anymore, just terrified men like themselves caught in a meat grinder. The final message echoed, "War needs no reason. A glitch, a second's delay, is enough to turn the ocean into a cemetery." And once the match is struck, no nation escapes the fire. The skirmish ended with no winners, only burning wrecks, dead eyes, and a lesson carved in scars. Peace is fragile.
and it almost shattered forever. This scenario plays out like a Hollywood thriller, but the danger is real. A single glitch turned a calm sea into a slaughterhouse. I want your tactical assessment in the comments. First, we saw US tech dominate the Chinese HQ-9, but in a real war against hypersonic missiles, is the US Navy still invincible? Second, look at the smaller nations caught in the crossfire. If you were the US president, would you risk World War III to save an ally, or would you cut them loose to prevent nuclear Armageddon? Smash that like button if you enjoyed this analysis. Subscribe for more war scenarios. Dismissed.